All right, there we go. Okay, we talked about last week was about the oil change and what's on the bottle. Okay, that is very important to know if you're going to buy your oil. Shit. Hold on. Wait a minute. Minimize this. Okay, and what we're talking about is this here, this number here. Okay, what does that mean? The
Just
SA.
share screen.
Oh, I'm not sharing the screen.
Yeah, yeah, share screen. Yeah.
Damn. All right. Again, what I was talking about is when you go buy oil, you see the numbers on the bottle. You see this SAE 10W30. I used to think that that W meant weight, and somebody said one of y'all said last week it means winter. Okay, this 10 and this 30 is the flow of the oil or the thickness of the oil. Obviously, a 10 weight oil is much thicker than a 30 weight oil, and a 20 weight oil is much. I'm sorry, I said that right. A 10 weight oil is much thinner than a 30 weight oil, and a 5 weight oil is much thinner than a 10 weight oil. So that's why it's important to look at that because the wrong oil can damage the car. I seen this once when people put the wrong oil in the car, and the next morning the car wouldn't start, and they towed it into another shop and figured out somebody put the wrong oil in the car. And the reason why is because the oil has to flow, and when it's cold, it has to be a thinner oil. Has to be a thinner oil to flow faster. This right here is at an operating temperature. Or somebody.
Do you ever buy winter oil in Southern California, Mr. Davis?
What's winter oil?
Well, it's W, so that's for
No,
winter.
no, no. This is for winter. The W means winter. On this, all oil says this. All oil. As far as I know, no matter where you buy it from, summer, winter, fall, California, Texas, Philadelphia, they all say the same thing. All right. They might have an oil that's a branding that says this on the bottle. It says winter. It says winter on the bottle, but the W means winter.
In colder weather, the weight's going to be 10, but in normal weather, the weight's 30. Is
I,
that what
I,
that means?
exactly, exactly. And the reason why, because the metal didn't heat up yet, and so you want the oil to flow faster. So you need a thinner oil, so it can flow faster. But a thin oil on a car at normal operating temperature might be a problem. And a too thick of an oil on a cold car can cause an engine knock, an engine damage. So the W means winter, not weight. And for a long time, I thought it meant weight. Okay. Yes.
Mr. Davis, what
Yes.
does it mean when it's synthetic? What's the difference?
You know what? That's a very good question. That's a really good question. Cause oil is just made from like I don't know. I'm gonna say dinosaur bones, fossils. Uh, Synthetic oil is actually made for cars. Believe it or not, synthetic oil like my Prius. That takes my Prius and my Sequoia. I use synthetic oil. That's actually made for cars. It's a better way that it flows. A better way it treats the metal. Okay, it's actually really made for car. The other oil, petroleum oil, is just oil. It helps. It's a lubricant in there, but synthetic oil is actually made for cars. All right, it better treats the metal, and it puts it last a little longer. Now here's the problem with synthetic. Here's the problem with synthetic oil, and people think the oil is the problem. you might have a small oil leak that when you put regular oil in, you might not see, or you might see small drops of oil leaks on the ground. As soon as you start using synthetic oil, you see more oil leaks. And not the oil, you already had the leak there. The other oil is not as fine or has it's not synthetic. It's much. It's how can I say it? It's not as fine as synthetic oil. A synthetic oil will seep through a smaller oil leak. Okay, and people think it's the oil. People think it's the oil is actually doing it, and they think the oil is. It's the point is that you already had the leak there, and synthetic oil moves so fine it'll seep right through it. That makes any sense. But to answer your question though, synthetic oil was actually made for cars. With petroleum oil, the other oil is just oil. You can use it on your lawnmower, right? You can use it anything.
So all the oil you put in oil changes, you're using synthetic oil then?
No. This is not. I know a lot of cars now are coming to be high mileage oil, which is synthetic, right? And it's a thicker oil. But this oil is just basic oil, fossil oil. Right, it's just oil. It will work for a car. Before people start using a lot of synthetic oils, we just use regular petroleum oil, and it works. But it's just regular. I can say it's just regular plain oil you can use for. They made it for anything, right? It's just oil. Synthetic oil, in theory, as far as I know about it, it was made to treat the metal in cars. Right, expanding, contracting, a lot of mileage on the car. Right, wear and tear. It was made just for that. Okay, that make any sense?
Yeah.
But most newer cars use synthetic oil, right? Like hybrids, they use a lot of. Some of them use synthetic oil, but always get the oil recommended for that manufacturer. That number is what they recommend for that car. That number and that type is made for that car, especially on newer cars. Not saying you can't get aftermarket oil. Instead, you have a Toyota. Instead of getting Toyota oil, there is aftermarket name brand oils that still work. You know, like I can't even think of the name of them. Oh, like Valvoline and the one for P. Man, I can't even think of the names right now. Like like name brand oils. Valvoline. That's Valvoline. And what's the name of the other one? Mobile, Valvoline, and Tenzo, thank you. Thank you so much. I can't think of the name of that. Tenzo, there you go. But those oils are name brand oils, right? Anything that says SAE or API on it, it's approved by Society of Automobile Engineers and American Petroleum Institute. It's supposed to be a decent oil. But if the car says use synthetic, you should use synthetic. I wouldn't go beyond. If it says use synthetic, I would still stay with synthetic. And it could be synthetic aftermarket too. It could be Pencil, Valvoline, synthetic oil for that car. It don't always have to be at the dealership. But if you don't get it from the dealership, like on a newer car, right? Make sure it's approved oil. Cause like especially if you got a new car, you got a car under warranty, and that's how they get you also. You have a car under warranty, and say this just happened to one of the body teacher, right? His car, brand new car, right? First year he had it, it started knocking. It literally, we couldn't believe it was knocking. We thought it was a bell or a pulley. It was the engine knocking. You know what knocking means, like a little hammer noise. So he had to take it back to the dealership, and he'd been doing his own oil changes. So we got a little nervous there because now he had to go find all his receipts to make sure he used the right oil. Because the first thing they're gonna ask, who did the oil change, and did you use the right oil? If they find out you used the wrong oil, your warranty is void. You see what I mean? So even though you use an aftermarket oil, right, it's a newer car, make sure you keep the receipts. Because they find any way they can to get out of warranty. So they had to take the engine apart, put it, and fix the part. I think it was a cam lobe or something, a valve. I forgot what it was. And put it back the car under warranty. That means the tech actually worked half the price. But they found out you put the wrong oil in the car to cause that knocking noise. Then that can void your warranty. So in a newer car, make sure you use the approved oil. A lot of older cars, let's use good oil in the car because there's no warranty anyway. It's your car. Let's make sure you use good oil on it. So now going back to this. So most bottles of oil have 2 numbers on them, which is separate by W. This is separated by W. This is called a multi-grade oil, and they offer 2 weights. The W stands for winner and indicates that the lubricant has different viscosity. That basically means flow. All right, flow characteristics based on temperature. And that's what you want. You never want to use a straight weight oil like 30 weight. That's it. That's all it says is 30 weight. You don't want to do that. Oil weight. The weight of the oil is important on the life of your engine. The type of oil you choose is recommended by the manufacturer by climate, where you live at, and the type of driving you do. Now, here's the other thing. Some people buy, especially your young guys, y'all buy a Nissan, Honda, Toyota, and it takes 1040 oil or 1030 oil. But y'all drive the hell out that car. Y'all got thrust pack on it. Y'all have like this special air cleaner. Y'all think make it faster. Y'all got air intake system on there. Obviously, y'all driving that car hard. Right, so you might want to upgrade the oil to make it a little thicker. Instead of being 1030, you might want to go 1040, right, or synthetic, right. So let's take a closer look at how the oil is classified and how to better understand what the numbers on the bottle actually mean, which I just told you. Oil weight describes the viscosity of an oil, which means how well it flows at a specific temperature. This is based on a cold startup to 210 degrees Fahrenheit. So they're going from a cold start when you start your car in the morning to operating temperature. Okay, most cars operate at 198 to 210 degrees Fahrenheit, which is roughly the standard operating temperature of most motors. The flow of oil, the higher the number, the thicker, this is the key right here. This is the key here. Slower flowing the oil. Now imagine this. I'm trying to put this in perspective for you. Your car at night, you went home, you parked your car. It sat there for 16 hours to the next morning till you got it in again. All the oil now drained from the engine and in the pan. Correct, right? So now you start your car up, the engine is basically dry. That's what this one synthetic oil comes into play. It treats the metal, right? But it's basically dry. So when you start it up, that oil has to flow from that pump we showed you before, from the oil pan. The pump has to push that oil through that engine quickly, so the engine won't start knocking or seize up. Also, a lot of cars use the oil to push up the pressurized lifters to open up the valves. Remember that car I told you earlier that wouldn't start because they put the wrong oil on it because it was too thick? It couldn't open up the valve to get the car started in the morning. Because the lifters need oil to open up the valves. But anyway, so imagine that you got a car that requires 5 weight oil. It requires 5 weight, right? And you put 20 weight in there, right? And say it costs a 530. And you put in the car 2050. In the morning time, it's this number here. Now remember what it just says. The higher the number, the thicker or slow moving that oil is. So you got a car requires 5 weight oil and you got a 20 weight oil in it. It's going to move much slower, 4 times slower than the required oil. And guess what? Now your car starts to knock or wear out faster. Does that make sense? Do y'all get that? Understand that?
Yeah.
So that's why it's necessary to use the correct oil, especially in the morning time. So in the morning, this car is at a 5 weight. You got 20 weight oil in there. Okay. That means the 20 weight oil moves more quickly than 50 weight oil, but doesn't offer quite the same level of protection at higher operating temperatures. Now that's the other way around. That's the other package. Oops. See now, this weight here, this is for a hot car when it's at hot, no operating temperature. If you put a 5 weight, let's say you could put a straight 5 weight oil in there, okay, and it requires 30 when it's hot. When it's hot, obviously it's flowing, but it's not offering the same protection. It's a thicker oil. The 30 weight is a thicker oil when the 5 weight is a thinner oil. Okay, now how can I do that? This is like a like my Honda. It has almost 300,000 miles on it. When I first got that car, it was a 1030 oil, right? That was new. Now I put 2050 oil in it. That's just opposite of what I just told you. And the reason I do that is because for wear and tear. The car is not as tight as it was before. It's a little worn down, right? So for protection of the metal, I put a thicker oil on it, right? Because now it's not as tight or new as I first got it. It got almost 300,000 miles on it. It's a little worn out. So that means the parts are worn out. So I put a thicker oil in it. And sometimes when you put too thin of oil in a car, you'll see blue smoke out the tailpipe when it's too thin also. So that's why it's recommended to put the right oil in the car. But sometimes, like I just said, you might have to go up to how you drive, the age of the car, how many miles in the car. Now, don't get me wrong. I have on my Honda, the older one, I still put, when I first got it was at 1030. And sometimes, if it's on sale, I put 1040 on it. It runs just as fine. All right, I usually get what's on sale. But I know, huh?
What did you say about the tailpipe, Mr. Davis? A little while ago, you said if it's thin.
Yeah, I have seen cars that when the car had a lot of miles on it, let's say my car, right? It has a lot of miles on it. But I always change the oil. So suppose you never change the oil in that car and it's worn out. And you put too thin of an oil in there. It's going to have blue smoke coming out the tailpipe. Because it's so thin, when it warms up, it's going to go right past the rings, right, and valves and come out the tailpipe because it's too thin. Okay? That will happen when you have a car with a lot of miles on it. But if you had the right oil in the car and you still see blue smoke come out the tailpipe, that's oil. Anytime you see blue smoke coming out the tailpipe, that's oil. Okay? So when you see, let me write this down. So you see blue smoke. Blue smoke out the tailpipe means your car is burning oil. Either you got too. Sometimes if you're lucky, you just got too thin of oil in there. You might can go up. You might can go up a little bit, help stop it. But most of the time is the engine's worn out. You got worn seals, worn rings, right? Piston rings, or worn valve seals, especially if you see in the morning time. You see blue smoke in the morning and it goes away when it gets operating temperature. Usually your valve seals are worn out. Okay, and the oil is going right past the ring. Going right past the seals. So a 530 oil weight rating means that on a cold startup, the oil flows like a 5 weight oil. Okay, so again, on a cold start, it will flow. It flows like a 5 weight oil. Once the engine reaches operating temperature, that's usually around 210, 198 to 210. It will operate as a 30 weight oil. And again, that's why you want a multi-grade oil. The flow of oil, a 5W30 oil weight rating means that on a cold startup, the oil flows like 5 weight oil. Question: why do you think it's important to have the oil flow at a 5W weight cold and not a 30 weight oil cold on certain engines? That's for y'all. That's a question for y'all, Angel, Orville, or Anthony. Why do you think it's important to have a 5 weight oil, what is rated for, than a 30 weight oil when it's cold?
It probably keeps the engine warmer.
Well, that's right. It keeps it. It's based off the temperature. Anything else? Angel or Anthony? Anybody else? Listen what I'm saying. Why is it important to have a 5 weight oil? Remember, 5W oil. I keep saying weight. The 5W oil. The weight of it's 5. Viscosity. Why is it recommended to have a 5W oil cold and not a 30 weight oil cold when it requires the 5 weight oil? Otherwise, what can happen if you put the wrong weight oil in the vehicle? It calls for a 5 and you put a 30 or 50 in it. The wrong size, the wrong viscosity.
So is 5 much thinner than 30?
Yes. 5 is thinner than 30. So what can happen if you put the wrong weight into the vehicle? That's what I'm asking.
It won't turn on?
Yeah, some cars it may not turn on. Anything else? In the morning. Some cars may not turn on in the morning. I seen a Lincoln do that one time. Like I said earlier.
It could damage the engine.
Exactly. Those are 2 things I'm looking for. It may not turn on some cars. And the most important also on other things is it can damage the car. All right, it can damage it. That's very good.
5 weight cold, then it's easy. Then it's easier for the oil to go through the engine. Is that how it works?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Remember, a 5. Remember, this is cold. This is hot. Right? The 5 is a thinner oil. That means it can move faster through the passages, between parts, much faster than a thicker oil. Otherwise, let's say this. Let's say this is my clearance right here. Right? Obviously, a thinner component, a thinner component can actually move through that much easier, right? You can see that it can move that much easier. But if I try to do the same thing with something thicker, like my tin here, it's gonna go through, but it's gonna go through much harder. And it get there, but I'm pressing on this thing too. It's gonna get much harder. You see the difference? Basically, I'm just trying how the oil works. So if I got a thin oil, it'll go right through. So that's trying to give you a visual. What I mean by 5 and 20. So a 5-weight oil is much thinner than a 20-weight oil.
Mr. David, I have a question. Maybe you explained it already, but I see many oil, company who make zero by 0W20,
Oh yeah.
0W30, 0W50. What does mean zero?
Thinner than 5.
Really?
Yeah. There's some hybrid that takes 0W/something, right? I forgot what it was, but I seen a hybrid it was 0W/20 or something like that. I mean, that's about the thinnest you can get. I seen a hybrid take that one time. Matter of fact, I thought my hybrid took that, but it doesn't. It takes 5, right? But yeah, it means it's just a really, really fine oil. Yeah, but I wouldn't put that 0-weight oil on my Sequoia, on my Prelude, on my daughter's car. Probably smoke like crazy. Right? I probably see blue smoke come out the tailpipe. For a hybrid, especially for a hybrid, right? On a hybrid, use the oil it's called for. I don't care how many miles on it. You don't change the oil different weight until you start having problems with it. Okay? If it's a hybrid, you use the oil that car calls for. But yeah, some hybrids take a 0. I don't know if any other car takes a 0. But I know I've seen on hybrid vehicles with a 0 weight. Yeah, so you wasn't seeing things. Yeah, some cars do a 010 or 0. What's it? 020? It's a 0 something. I forgot what it was.
0.
Yeah. Let's do this last slide. Then you got to. I know it's almost time to go. Let me see. It said, why would you want a thinner oil to act like a thicker oil once warmed up? Why not just use a straight... We just basically just answered this also. Why not just use straight weight oil, non-multigrade oil? Okay? And the answer is this. If you use a straight, thicker weight oil, then the lubricant, right here, then the lubricant will be too thick to flow through the engine on a cold start. What we just said. Which means it could damage the engine or other parts, like I just mentioned. Straight weight oil, non-multigrade oil, isn't safe for the engine. Okay? It's not safe for the engine at all. You wouldn't have a straight 5-weight. You wouldn't have a straight 5-weight oil either, because it would be too thin. That's the other thing. It would be too thin to keep the engine safe. Alright? So basically the thin oil is just for when the car is cold. Right? But you want to go to a thicker level when it's at operating temperature. Think of it more like a cushion. Right? When it gets operating temperature. Right? When it's thicker. Multigrade oil is the best oil to use. All right, that's the best oil you can use for your car. This is okay. I lied. This is the last one. Use the correct oil that protects your engine. That's number one. You always do that first. Use the oil that protects your engine. Now, this you got to use your imagination. This is the last one, and I'll let you go. Describe 3 things you see happening in this picture. And here's a hint. You may not see with your eyes either, all 3 things. And 3 people may see 3, and all 3 of y'all might see 3 different things. And y'all may, like all 3 of y'all might see 3 different things on this car. Now let's do this. All y'all give me 3 things. I don't care if it's the same thing or not. Yeah. Cause you might say something different. And it probably be right. Angel, what you see? Give me 3 things.
Well, the oil is to look older.
Okay.
I mean, they're never changing.
That's good.
I don't see any safety in there.
Okay.
And wow, I think that's only what I see now.
Cool, you got one more.
It could be, yeah.
All right, that was good. That's good. Orfeo, give me what you see, Orfeo.
I see, like, similar to Angel said, the oil is very dark.
Okay.
It's I see they're taking out the thing from the bottom.
Okay.
Going into a pan, maybe.
Exactly. See, that's okay. That's good. Anthony, what you see? It's hard. It's hard on Anthony because he's the last one. Everybody named everything. Anthony, what you see?
What is he holding in his hand?
I know. Yeah, there you go. Anthony, what you see, Anthony?
What's that gun?
Sorry, teacher, I didn't see anything.
Oh, you can't see anything? Yeah. Oh, you can see it. Can you see that picture? What you see in the picture? Name one thing you see in that picture, Anthony. Okay, let me point out to y'all. What I see. Huh? Yeah, yeah, right here. That's a drain plug, right?
Yeah.
That's the drain plug. Y'all mentioned it earlier. And guess what? Most of the things y'all seen, I wasn't thinking about. That's why I said we all could see different things. And mostly everything y'all named, I was not thinking about. I was thinking about something completely different. But you're always right, though. Everybody was right. Yeah, I didn't see this. I didn't see, yeah, the oil is dirty. I didn't look at that. You're right, the oil's dirty.
It looks so dirty.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Other thing I see, somebody mentioned it, it's going into an oil pan down there. It's draining somewhere, right? There had to be a pan down there somewhere, right? So it's going to an oil pan down there. It had to be a pan down here. Right, it's going into the other thing. Guess what? To me, that car is lifted up in the air. He's not laying on his back. It's up. He got on the hoist. Okay, he has it on the hoist, and that's the oil pan, right? That's your pan right here. That's really good because we all can look at the same picture and see something different. But basically, what he's doing is an oil change. All right, that's really good. So, any questions? That was a good class. Any questions? So remember, remember, this is the last week. Friday we got to submit the grades. Okay, so Friday we have to submit the grades. So you can see that the grade book, y'all doing it now, it's filling up. So get your grades in. Get your assignments done. You have any questions? Please ask, because I want to give y'all completion. and you're doing a good job. Mr. Weiss, you want to tell him something before we go?
Only that we're having office hours 6 to 8. Anthony, if you could stop by at 6 to take the Civics test, that would be great. Can you stop by? I'll see you at 6.
Okay.
Okay. And yeah. Also, you have any questions? You're gonna ask during office hours also.
Yeah, Mr. Davis could drop by at office hours
Yeah.
if you need him as well.
Yeah.
But I'll be there.
All right, Jim.
Are you gonna post the recording of this on the?
Yeah.
On the
Since I did it the last minute, if it came out,